Hi there, I'm Adam Wight. Thanks for tuning in and welcome to the show. Each week, I strive to bring you interesting interviews and commentary related to some of the more pressing issues of the day. And our discussions range from politics to entertainment, even lifestyle issues. And if you like what you hear, I encourage you to hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform or YouTube, or visit my website at theadamwrightshow.com. And more importantly, please tell your friends. Well, in 2016, Hampden County elected its first new sheriff in over 30 years. Nick Cocchi, who is a career corrections professional, began his election with the largest kickoff event in Hampden County history. And then Nick went on to win a blowout election, winning every city and town in the county. And since then, the sheriff has been incredibly busy over the past 6 years, and he's instituted multiple substance abuse programs, vocational training, and pre-release programs to help people who are incarcerated improve their lives and also to make a difference in the community. Recognized by his fellow sheriffs, Sheriff Cocchi was elected as vice president of the Massachusetts Sheriff's Association to serve a 2-year term. And recently, he kicked off his campaign for re-election coming up this November. So it's really a pleasure to welcome to the show Sheriff Nick Cocchi. Hey, Sheriff.
How you doing, Adam? It's great to be here.
Well, I'm doing great. I'm so happy that you could take a few minutes and join me, because I think that one of the things that people may not understand is the breadth of the job that sheriff is. And, you know, you spent your whole career at the Hampden County House of Corrections, held nearly every leadership position before you became sheriff. Was there anything that surprised you once you took office as sheriff?
You know, I definitely think that I was, surprised with some of the tasks that I had to take on as the sheriff. You know, as a person in leadership here, being an operations guy, I quite well understood the job. It was the office of sheriff, the political side of the office, that was a learning experience for me, meaning over 1,000 employees, Adam. And, for every one of their family members, when something happens to a family member, somebody gets sick, that's a very large responsibility. And I feel and I walk with each and every one of my staff on a daily basis. And we have a lot of pains here. We do a lot of great work for the offender population, for the justice involved. We give second chances. We believe in the best we can to try to give somebody the opportunity to go back to the community, a better husband, wife, mother, father, brother, sister. But then we have the day-to-day issues just with staff and with COVID. So that, if I was honest with you, in my first 5+ years, it's been, learning how to manage and be something to try to be somebody to something to everybody, and try to be somebody who will listen to their issues. Our population of offenders is a replication of the community. We are a mirror of the community. Well, the same goes for my staff. My staff here have the same issues that anybody else out in the community has. We have family members that battle addiction. We have family members with mental health issues. We have family members who may come to jail and have to be incarcerated based on the choices they've made in the community. So they have to come in and they have to service the men and women who are trusted in our care and custody. And then they also have to manage a home front with all these other entities, just like anybody else out there does.
Sure.
So I would say in a long answer that could have been shorter is that that was been the toughest part of the job, is learning how to be accessible and approachable for all issues that have nothing to do with the sheriff's office with my staff.
Has there been something since you became sheriff that you realized is the best part of the job?
Absolutely, helping people. There's nothing more rewarding than coming to work, fielding a phone call from a distraught parent or husband or wife where their loved one needs help, or they're incarcerated and need a little extra attention, or somebody in the community that needs help. There's nothing more rewarding than helping somebody, period.
Well, as I mentioned, you've instituted many, many new programs and expanded others, and I'm hoping we can get into these specifically in just a bit. But one of the things that's been really well received in the community that I've noticed is the amount of outreach you do beyond the walls of the jail. Why is community involvement so important to you?
Well, I think that I'm held accountable to people, the citizens of Hampden County. And one of the things that we've always done here, and Sheriff Ash, my predecessor, did a tremendous job, is we do very good when it comes to correctional, um, rehabilitation and programming. But I also felt the office is just more than being behind the fences, off behind some institution somewhere in the woods.
Hmm.
It's a sheriff's office. Your sheriff's office needs to help accomplish whatever the needs in the community are. So we have very aggressively, I would say, have gone out into the community, whether it's through our emotional support division with our therapy dogs, into schools and into workplaces that have some type of an incident, to going out and having basketball leagues. And we do C3 policing with the Springfield Police Department, as well as in Holyoke, which is getting the community members together and letting them have a conversation about what they see in their neighborhood and what they would like to see done in their neighborhood. It's all about improving the communication with the citizens of the county and this office. And again, when you talk about what's your favorite thing to do in office, it's to come into work every day, field that phone call, because people call us when they need help. They call us when they've tried other avenues and they're not working. And there's nothing more rewarding than to be able to assist in the best way we can, or at least listen to what the issue is, and then put somebody, a staff member, on it to at least return a phone call, sit down with the individual, and tell them that they've been heard. I think that goes a long way.
We're talking to Hampden County Sheriff Nick Cocchi. You know, one of the hallmarks of your tenure, I think, has been helping people afflicted by addiction. And what percentage of the people who come through the House of Corrections are addicted?
87% of the people that come to us have some level of a substance use disorder.
That's astounding.
It's astounding. And, when you look at that, that's a disorder with the substance use. Now, you can then take that 87%, and about 42% of those 87% also have a mental health issue. So those are what you call a co-occurring disorder. And you can't address a substance use disorder until you can support and stabilize a mental health component. So we're seeing a lot of that, especially through this last 2.5 years with the pandemic and COVID, where people were just isolated. They're very depressed. Mental health concerns were really on the rise. And part of dealing with their mental health issues was to self-medicate through substance use. And that was a recipe for disaster. And I always say we've lost a lot of good men and women, what I call, to a very unexpected, in a very tragic way. It didn't have to happen.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to happen. We got to give people help.
Well, I know you've put a lot of yourself into the Western Massachusetts Recovery and Wellness Center in Springfield. Talk a little bit about that and the type of services they offer.
Well, we have on Mill Street in Springfield, we have the Western Mass Wellness and Recovery Center, and that is a facility that will take individuals, clients from Worcester West, so Worcester, Hampden, Hampshire, Franklin, and Berkshire counties. And any of those counties can send somebody with substance use disorder that is struggling, that needs to have a very regimented program for recovery. But the key of the program is not only coming in and working the recovery steps, but it's really about when they're ready to go home, having a structured release plan, where they're going to go, where they're going to attend their AA or NA meetings, where they're going to go and attend, if there's any mental health component, see their clinicians. It's all about the three-legged stool: housing, support service appointments, and employment. And if you have those three areas covered, you have a foundation to be successful. Any one of those areas, if you lose your job, you're going to lose your home. You lose your job and you lose your home. Do you really think you're going to be motivated to go to your AA or NA or substance use appointment or mental health appointment? No, you're going to see a rapid decompensation. So We really focus out of that building on education, employment, and the wraparound service aspect, and that helps us get people back in the community with a nice, strong foundation. If any one of those legs breaks, unfortunately, we have a recipe for relapse.
We're talking to Hampden County Sheriff Nick Cocchi. I remember civil commitment for substances under laws like Section 35, especially places like the House of Corrections, was a very controversial topic at the time you were running for office, but you embraced the concept, and I know you felt you could make a difference for these folks. And you developed what most would call a cutting edge and pretty revolutionary facility called Stony Brook Stabilization and Treatment Center. For those who may not be familiar, Section 35 is a state law that allows for people to be involuntarily committed to treatment for drug or alcohol use, people who are serious dangers to themselves or others. How did that come about? Was there a model for this, or was this something you designed from scratch?
As many things happen the wrong way, I received a call, and I'll never forget this day or this night. It was December 1st of 2017, and I got a call around 5:30 at night, and the call was notifying me that a young lady who was sectioned from the city of Chicopee was en route to a detox bed in the eastern part of the state. She went into a medical emergency in our van. We pulled over. We resuscitated and brought her back. We called 911. EMS responded. They had to revive her twice. Unfortunately, when she arrived at the hospital, she was pronounced dead. I never, ever wanted to get that phone call again. So I came into work the next day and said, something's wrong with the system. And unfortunately, there's still a huge gap in Western Massachusetts on Section 35 recovery beds. But what I did, and there was a law by Governor Baker that made it unconstitutionally illegal to house a female on a Section 35 status inside of a correctional institution. But there was no law in supporting and helping men get treatment. So we opened up the Stony Brook Stabilization and Treatment Center for men. It's a 142-bed facility. Pre-COVID, we had 142 people in the building. It's sad, but if you build it, you will fill it.
Well, it tells you what kind of need there is out there.
No, Adam, there's so much need out there to support individuals battling with substance abuse. As of today, there are 50 box beds, 50 in Hampden County, outside of where we are. I mean, that's I have 140 beds and they're full. How can there only be 50 elsewhere for this type of work? It makes no sense. And that's what we've been pounding the table on, trying to get Boston to understand. And they have been listening. And I'm very grateful for the work that the staff do, but I'm also grateful for the legislature and the governor because they've allowed us to keep doing this work. And we've become not only a facility who supports Section 35, we've been one of the models for the entire Commonwealth in how to do it. And we're very proud of that.
That's fantastic. Now, when somebody comes into the program, how long do they potentially stay?
What you'll hear a lot from the judge who signs off on a commitment is up to 90 days. Up to 90 days. The average stay in the Commonwealth is around 21 days.
And how, when somebody goes through the program, is it your staff that declares them fit to leave, or is that done by a judge again? How does that work?
So the average stay around the Commonwealth is 21 days. We're proud. Our average stay is 50 days because we give people the time to medically detox before we start pushing them into programs where they're not even understanding what's happening because they're still in a withdrawal state. So we don't really start intensifying our programs for somebody who's got a detox till probably week 2. So there's 14 days already in, and all it has been for those 14 days is eating healthy, getting detox, getting that poison out of our system, and starting to feel better about them. And then we start the programmatic approach to recovery. Now, so 14 days versus 50, we're very proud of that. And then how do you release them? We have a checklist, and they have to meet the criteria of so many classes. They have to have a stabilized home plan, and we will then call a discharge planner, and we all agree on what the discharge plan is going to be. And at that point, we all sign off on a release, and they can be, we call it severing the commitment, and they go to the next, hopefully, leg of their recovery.
You know, it's so funny that you say this, because I know that has been such a problem in private care, is that somebody comes in, they're addicted. Usually it's something very serious like heroin addiction or meth or other kinds of opiates. And it takes, they're kicked out before they're even really medically, physically off the drug.
Can I ask you a question, Adam? Why do you think that is? And I'm being a little facetious.
Well, I'm assuming it's the insurance issue.
100% it's insurance driven, and that makes me sick. We don't charge anybody a dime to come here to be safely detoxed, to be placed into a recovery program, to stay for 50 days, and then have a reentry discharge plan that is conducive to staying in a very positive frame of mind and staying in recovery. We don't charge people a dime. Now, don't get me wrong. It's state funded, so everybody is paying. But it's the people who need the service. How do we allow an insurance company to tell you when you're going to be successfully detoxed, and then you're going to go to a program? See, people will always say that when you leave a correctional institution and you are sober for 15, 20, 30 days, you go back to the community, you are at a higher alert, and you are in a state of danger, because if you go back and use what you used before you went to jail, you're going to overdose and die. That's very true. But it's not just jail. It's hospitals. It's treatment beds. It's any level of abstinence for a period of time, and then somebody relapses and they go back out to use again at the level they were using prior to getting help. They are at a high level for potential overdose. So that's why we've instituted medication-assisted treatment programs and trying to help people get the urge and curb the desire for these opioid substances. And there's, medication out there like Vivitrol that will block the sensation of heroin. It helps with alcohol, Vivitrol. We do methadone and Subutex. Now, people will say, you're just making somebody high and happy, and it's just 6 of one, half a dozen of another. It's called, it's called harm reduction. We're giving somebody something to reduce the level of harm they can that they can do to themselves, so we can get them past a very difficult period and hopefully to a better tomorrow. That's what that's all about. And it's very hard to explain to people who don't understand addiction. They're saying you're not helping them, you're only hurting them. No. The goal here is to keep somebody alive over the weekend, so we can have the discussion on Monday what path we're going to take in recovery. You know how many people don't make it? They weren't given the option to even be around on Monday to make that decision of where they're going to go and try to seek treatment. It's harm reduction, it's life-saving, and it's about giving somebody the opportunity another day to make a better decision.
Well, I know that aftercare is such an important issue, because you don't want people to reoffend, and you certainly don't want them to get back into using drugs. How do you help people once they've left your facilities? How do you help them move forward in their lives on a daily basis?
Right down the road on State Street, we have an all-inclusive support service building, and it used to be AISS stood for Aftercare Support Service. But I found it very disrespectful to say that someone has to go to jail to get service and help. That makes no sense. So we just changed the name to all-inclusive, meaning Anybody in the community that has a problem can walk in those doors and say, I have a problem. This is what I need. Whether it's from, again, substance use, mental health. It could be a sex offender that needs treatment, that needs to register with the Sex Offender Registry Board. It could be somebody looking for an ID, how to get their license back. A multitude. It could be a bridge to college programs, education. But this building is there for anybody who needs help. You walk in, you make an appointment, we do an intake on you, and you stay part of, and you stay connected to what I say is our family. And the numbers that go through there are probably around, even with COVID, about 75 to 100 a day. And these are people that just stay engaged with us. They want to do the right thing. And just the mere fact that they walk through the threshold of our door, they're staying busy, you can see that they're trying to do the right thing. And when people stop showing up, we know, we pick the phone up, we call them, hey, you haven't been here in a week. What's going on? You need help? You need some support? And a lot of times we hear, I relapsed and I didn't want to come. I didn't want to get yelled at, or I'm embarrassed. There's no embarrassment here. It's all about getting back on the horse and ready to ride so you can continue to have that better tomorrow.
And how do people get in touch with that clinic if they need help?
You can just call our office directly. It's 413-858-0000. And you just ask for the service that you're looking for. We will redirect the call. And if anybody out there doesn't get the level of service they're looking for or the satisfaction from my office, you call my office direct, which is 413-858-0107. That's a direct line to my office.
We're talking to Hampden County Sheriff Nick Cocchi. You know what? The thing that I think is just so wonderful is I know you're a huge dog fan, right? And you've got this cool dog named Brooklyn.
That's my girl.
What kind of dog is Brooklyn?
Brooklyn's a bull mastiff.
Well, it's funny because I'm sorry. I know you just had put into place an emotional support division, right? Where you're bringing dogs around in addition to the Freedom Pups program, which I want to talk about in a second. But I think that's really amazing that you're using therapy dogs for inmates and for staff.
And Adam, it works. You don't have to be just a dog lover to say that the program works. I see it and hear it with my eyes and my ears. When the dog's on campus walking through the hallway, everyone's voice jumps up 3 octaves, and they get down and they start petting and they start talking to the dog like it's a baby, and they walk away with a smile on their face. It's true therapy. You're a dog lover. You helped me build the Freedom Pup program, and again, that's a big kudos to you by giving me that idea to begin with, to say, look, these are the programs that can make a difference with your population of men, women, and staff. And that program is unbelievable. That's the program that got us in the business of saying animals can change the culture of an environment. And that's what we're doing with the offenders and with the staff.
I appreciate that. Now, the Freedom Pup program is a little bit different, right? This is where dogs are coming in from a shelter and living with your inmates, correct?
That's right. So we have dogs that come in from Second Chance Animal Shelter, and they come in. They actually live with the inmates. The inmates learn how to groom, feed, train the dog, and there's a bond that is formed. At times, it's very difficult when the dog gets placed because 90% of the dogs that come in are placed right here with the staff.
Wow. The
staff adopt them and bring them home because they see how well the dog's doing, and there's already a known factor in a relationship that's built there. But what I always say is the greatest part of the program is, let's think about this. They feed, they groom, and they train, spend time with, connection. Those are 3 of the most important traits a father has to do to be a good father. And that's why the program, in my opinion, has been so successful, is we're teaching the men that come to us that have children, that are away from their children because they're doing time. Hey, you have a responsibility that's out there. You have a son or a daughter, or you have children. You have to be a better father. And these are the ways that we can help with a Fathers in Trust program, and then wrapping around caring for somebody other than yourself, and you have to care for their needs. That's what this program's brought us. And I'm telling you, the men comment on it all the time. This has made me look in the mirror and stop worrying about me, and I have to start worrying about and attending to others.
Fantastic. Let's change topics a little bit. We're talking to Nick Cocchi, Sheriff of Hampden County. Spring's right around the corner. And are you guys going to be again patrolling Forest Park?
Yeah, we will. That's a nice partnership with the City of Springfield, Mayor Sarno, Commissioner Clapprood, and the Springfield Police Department. And, it's been so well received by people in the community. We get letters and calls all the time. They feel safer with, we have 2 deputies in the park from 6 o'clock in the morning till close, and we pack up and we lock the gate at about 10 o'clock at night. And it's been about 3 years. We just finished our 3rd year, and it's been a tremendous partnership. We love it, and the community likes it. And we just feel, again, it's one way to show the community their sheriff's office is here in the community with presence, hopefully making people feel a little more comfortable at all times in the park.
Well, it's fantastic for me personally because I often go to the park really early in the morning, like again, 6:30 to do photography. And when I see the sheriff's cars, it just makes me feel so much better. You're scaring my birds, but that's okay.
No, but I appreciate that, because that's really, Adam, that's been a sentiment from the people in the community, is that the park, that park is absolutely beautiful.
It's a gem.
It's a beautiful, beautiful park. And there was a time a few years back where times were tough and people were in the park and they were vandalizing and they were starting to destroy parts of the park. And the mayor and Pat Sullivan and the commissioner said, enough's enough. And we started our collaboration, and it's been an honor to do it, really.
We're talking to Sheriff Nick Cocchi of Hampden County. A couple more things, and I'll let you go. I really appreciate the generosity of your time. The immigrant driving bill, otherwise known as the Work and Family Mobility Act, just passed the House. And for those who don't know, it's a bill that allows driver's licenses for residents without legal immigration status. And I know that you were a big proponent of that and testified in favor of it. Why were you so in favor of that bill?
Thanks a lot for bringing that up. I thought we were having a nice conversation.
No, I mean, listen, I know it's very controversial, but the people who are supportive of this bill see a really unique, positive angle for this.
Look, it's in my eyes, it was a very simple decision, and I know it caused a lot of controversy, and people say, "Gee, that's really not like Nick Cocchi to take a stance like that." But here's the reality: they're immigrants that are driving right now illegally are not going to stop driving, and they're going to continue to get into accidents and to do things illegally and hurt people. And here's the other thing: there is a level of information and history that we will get from the people applying for these licenses. So I think some information on who you are, where you've been, and what you're doing is better than none. And then you have the ability with that license is to get insurance. So when you get into a fender bender or you do crack up a car and you hit somebody else, they're not left on the hook with all the damage because you don't have anything. So it's about access to employment. It's about getting information so we know more about the people that are in our community. And it's about having people do things legally, not illegally, because they've never had a path to legally get their license. So I get it. People don't see why we would let illegal immigrants get a license, but you have to look at it from somebody walking out of jail or somebody who comes here with all the good intentions of being an honest, law-abiding citizen that wants to work. If they can't get from point A to point B, they're going to get there one way or the other, and they're going to break the law, and they're going to end up on the system, and they're going to be a drain on the system. So I just thought it was an opportunity to give people a chance to do things the right way. I know there's people that are going to say that's not a good enough answer, and for that, I just simply say, I respect your opinion to disagree with me. I would just ask that you trust me in understanding what the obstacles are for these type of men and women that are trying to do the right thing. and people say, well, the right thing to do is come in legally. I got it.
The reality of it is they're here.
That's right. They're here and they're trying to survive. So instead of making them do it in a very negative way, in a very illegal way, let's give them an avenue to tell us who they are, where they live. We have an understanding of what's going on, and let's give them an opportunity to do things the right way.
We're talking to Nick Cocchi, Sheriff of Hampden County. The Western Massachusetts Regional Women's Correctional Center was just awarded, this is fantastic news, 100% score during an audit by the American Correctional Association. This makes really one of the top ranked jails in the nation. That's got to make you very proud.
I'm very proud, and I'm very proud of the staff. A lot of times a headline will say Sheriff Cocchi or Nick Cocchi. It's not Nick Cocchi by any means. It's the great men and women who work here every day, who really take the responsibility of doing the right things, following the protocols, and making sure that we scored well on this audit, because ultimately it's an independent company coming in to tell us what they see. We think we do a great job, but we're biased.
Yeah.
So you open the doors and you let people pull back the sheets, lift the hood, come in, and you tell us what you see. And when they said on a total of over 287 standards, not one uncompliance, that made me very, very proud. And I was very, very proud of the staff.
You're now running for a second term. At this point, it looks like you'll be unopposed, but there's still a little bit of time to go. What do you hope to accomplish in your next 6 years if you're reelected?
I hope to get the opportunity to be reelected because we have unfinished business. And what I mean by that is I really believe we do a tremendous job here at the facilities in rehabilitation. Again, learning from what I call the godfather of corrections, Mike Ash, and all of our staff, we have a great blueprint for incarcerated individuals and about respect, compassion, and treating people with dignity. That's never going to change. I'm not going to let that change. We're going to hold people accountable when they come in, but we're going to treat them like human beings. We're going to treat them with respect. We're going to show them compassion, but we're going to hold them accountable. That's going to continue. But what I think I want to do is I want to continue to walk to the community, and I want to show the community, and I want to help rebuild the trust that has been lacking in law enforcement over the past, probably 3, 4, 5 years with all the incidents that have happened around this country. I want to show the citizens of Hampden County and the Commonwealth that you can trust your sheriff's office. Your sheriff is supposed to be and should be one of the most trustworthy people you put in office. From a public safety perspective, we have to defend and protect the victims. We have to respectfully and compassionately rehabilitate the offenders. So I, unlike most politicians, I consider myself a public servant, and I get to talk out of both sides of my mouth. The left side is about reintegration and programs and education and bringing people back to the community from incarceration in a better position to be successful in reentry. That's the left side of my mouth. The right side of my mouth is the sheriff. I have to talk about the people who are left in the community after they've been victimized by the individual who has to go to jail. And when you look over the last couple of years in police reform and bail reform and even correctional reform, where did you ever see the word victim? It never made the laws. And I have a problem with that because people are scarred and left in the community, and then people come to jail and they go back to the community. We have to remember, we have a responsibility to all the people of Hampden County, not just the incarcerated and not just the citizens and the victims, everybody. And I want to take the next 6 years to take another few steps towards our community members to say, you can trust your sheriff, you can trust your sheriff's office, and we are here to work on behalf of you in a very responsible but professional way.
Well, Sheriff Nick Cocchi, I so appreciate your generous amount of time. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and I wish you all the best in the next election cycle and hopefully the next 6 years.
No, I appreciate it, Adam, and I just always take a page from Tip O'Neill to say to never take anything for granted. I really hope that everybody out there listening will consider supporting me again for my reelection to the office of sheriff, and I would be very grateful and honored for their support.
Sheriff Nick Cocchi, thanks so much for spending some time with us.